Roscoe's Wetsuit Podcast. I am with my good friend Denzel Bolden.
Yeah,
Denz,
what's
what's up?
up? How's it going, bro?
It's going well, man. So the real lyric of the day. This is a segment that I'm going to be doing, basically uh, breaking down usually a rap lyric, something that has some substance.
So Lil Pump.
Well, yeah, exactly.
I'm kidding.
Okay.
Substance.
This was from Lil Skies off of
Okay.
Shelby. I've been listening to that a lot. So he says, tired of having battles with the man in the mirror. I'm praying every night, trying to stay in good spirit. I'm only being me, not trying to be different. So what I got out of that, man, it's like, having battles with the man in the mirror. Obviously, we're all kind of the harshest critics of ourselves, right?
Yeah.
I think, anyone who's kind of on a path to, really like trying to succeed in something, you're really critical of yourself, oftentimes
True.
more so, So it's
Yeah.
like talking about, having battles just, with himself, right?
I feel like he's got to be like facing some demons, bro. Like having battles with the man in the mirror. Like I think it's like he's his own worst enemy. It's got to
Yeah.
be like internal things that he's going through the worst. Like I feel the same way in a lot of ways, just because like I'm an overthinker. Like I overthink everything, right? So like for a job interview, I'll think of like all the possibilities that can happen, right? And like
Right.
I go in expecting like I expect them to judge me a certain way. I expect them to not give me the job. Just a ton of different things. Like I just want to be ready for anything that
Right.
comes my way. Like if any question, any situation, anything. And whenever I go in there, it's like it never happens as expected, right?
Right.
Like it's there's no planning for it. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like and like especially for my most recent job, I just feel like especially for this town, it's like it's not very diverse. So like when you go in there, especially the way that I look, I mean, let's be honest, like it's just facts. Like uh they have pre ideas in their mind of like how it's gonna go. You know what I mean? So like that already puts me at a
Yeah.
disadvantage. Like that takes
Yeah.
away my confidence and stuff, right?
Yeah. No, and
So
for those of you, sorry to jump in real quick. Sorry, for those of you who don't know you, we're talking about, each of our hometowns, right? You would say,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I
So
was born and raised, bro.
born and raised, yeah. So I
Yeah,
can't say born, but I was raised there. So
yeah, yeah.
Eugene's home in Eugene, Oregon, a small liberal
Very small.
hippie town, but you're right, not very diverse.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
at our high school, what there were probably how many black kids do you
Bro,
think?
there was like 10 blacks.
Like 10, right?
And they were all swapped out every year because some left and like some came back and shit. It was like 10, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
it's
but man,
crazy.
in high school, the way I feel like when we first met, it was through Jesse. He
Yeah,
introduced
yeah.
us, our mutual friend Jesse, and I felt like just right away we kind of just I don't know, hit it off. Like you
Yeah,
just
we hit it off, yeah.
people, it's just like you vibe and that's that's what it is. And
Yeah, yeah.
we're kind of like school friends, right? Like throughout high school, we didn't like kick it on the weekend or played
No, but I
basketball
didn't kick it with
together.
anyone on the weekend though. That
Yeah,
was just I was
yeah,
like a homebody. I didn't
right,
get out much. So,
yeah.
but
No, but
like now, oh, go ahead. What are you gonna
no,
say?
I was just gonna say, when I'd always been kind of curious, there, of course, you get out of high school and it's like everyone's going their separate ways, and you lose touch with some people. It's you
Yeah.
know people are starting new jobs or schools, and it's like there's a whole new like social community that you're like meeting and like learning to adapt to. So it's like it can be kind of tough to like maintain those sort of
Yeah.
social
And
relationships.
like sometimes like the people that like you relate to the most, they are the ones they're not going to be the ones that like you end up like as you grow, like they're just going to go a separate way. Like I remember having I would have never expected now being out of high school and
Mm.
like just being in like the real world, like you, Jesse and my boy Matt. That's like three people. Like out of all the people that are in high school, all the people that I knew in like middle school and stuff like that, and like there were some people that like I knew since like kindergarten. Like we did talent shows together. I used to rap and do like the talent show every year since like
Yeah.
kindergarten, and then I stopped in like sixth grade with like the same group of guys. One's in prison now, free chance by the way. The other one, he just went on a different path. Like he got into things that I've never been into, and like he hung out with like people that uh they're just not like a good group of people.
Mm-hmm.
And so but like we had like everything in common, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of, it's history repeats itself. Like I'm sure my parents were like told me something like the same things, like I don't know, like at that time that like I might not be with the same people, or like be with the same friends and stuff like that. But I don't know. I don't even know what I'm trying to say.
No,
But
my mom had told me something similar about like, at some point, I think this was, during high school, I was, like, God damn, like, I feel like I don't have any real friends. It's like people are, so fake, and my mom broke it down to me where it was like, she explained, there's different. A friend is not a friend, like in terms of being the same thing. Like there's layers to that. You could have
very true.
I mean, she was telling me about, some of her closest friends, like some of the people she connects with the most, she'll only talk to like a couple times a year. They live, somewhere else. They have their own lives going on. But other people, say your work, your work colleagues that may, turn into friends or whatever. It's like you may see those people on like a near everyday basis, and be able to have fun with them, and they're people to hang out with, but most of the time I think we don't like really like vibe and connect with those people.
Yeah, just like acquaintances or something.
Yeah, they're just basically glorified. Yeah. I mean, I think it's kind of a blurry lines between like an acquaintance and that kind of like what I would used to say is a fake friend, but now I would sort of just call, someone to hang out with, someone.
Yeah, we wouldn't call it like a fake friend. It's just someone that it's just an acquaintance is what it is. Like a friend to me is someone that checks in on me from time to time. Like just something that I've been going through recently is like other than like you, my boy Matt, and Jesse, that's three people that aren't blood. Everyone else that I consider like an actual friend is like cousins. And I had some cousins that I'd hang out with more than others, obviously. And I'd like go to like their house all the time. Like I'd sleep over every weekend, sometimes on the weekdays and stuff, like just connected like in every kind of way, just like super similar. And now they don't even check in on me type of deal. Like, you know what I mean? Like that hurts. Like it just put things into perspective that like sometimes like your real family like aren't even blood. You know what I mean? Like I feel like we don't talk every day, but we don't have to. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like it's just it's crazy.
We picked right up, where we left off, and it's always like it's not a forced conversation. It's just, we're talking about things, and it's always new things, because it's, we don't talk every day.
Yeah.
And you talk to people every day, and it's like, it's good to have that familiarity, but then you're just kind of like repeating the same stuff.
Just going through the motions,
Yeah. But anyway, back to that, just, finishing up with that quote, that Little Skies lyric. The last part of it, I'm only being me, not trying to be different. So I feel like that's a really important distinction right there, because like a lot of people nowadays, it's like what I view it as is like there's like the sheep who are just like conformists, who just follow what everyone does, right? We all know those people, and I'm sure people who are listening all know those type of people who just, they're followers, they listen to what other people say, and they generally are just average people in society. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. I don't choose to live my life like that. But on the other hand, I feel like you have people who are solely rebelling against what is what I'll call the sheep. And I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
we saw that. I mean, it's like so apparent with high school, right? Where it's like you have all of these different people are going through all these different phases, emo and jock, and people are trying out like different like looks.
Trying out, that's a key word.
Yeah. They because people haven't really found themselves,
Yeah, yeah.
or but then there's also, I feel like, the ultimate what you want to get to, like what Little Skies is saying, you know, being able to be you, not trying to be yourself, not just trying to, you know, do something because it's gonna like be different than everyone else, just to
Yeah.
rebel. It's like, no, like this is who I am. I'm not even like doing this as an attempt to rebel against anything. This is just I'm gonna do what I want, and that's gonna be that. I think I think it there's not a lot of people like that, but
True.
I feel like the people who are at that stage are usually the people like we learn from. Like they're
Of
the
course. The
teachers,
leaders.
yeah, the leaders. Um,
Dude, I'm about to hit you with like something even deeper. Like you're talking more like what you touched on is like more of like the social side of it.
yeah,
But like what about like when we do that to just to survive? Like my job, I'm
uh,
conforming like every day like that. I'm acting like I'm just being a yes man. You know what I mean? Like
got
I,
to, yeah,
I cuss outside of work. I listen to rap music. I can't put on that persona that like, oh, I'm
right,
just this black kid that's into rap and like all the like I have to kind of not be myself even at work. You know what I mean? And um do I want to be at that place as a career? No, but like I have to have money right now. You know what I
yeah.
mean? So like even on the job and stuff, it's just we conform, we're sheep.
But
Like you don't have to do that job, but
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like
no,
you're
but
choosing to and
here's the thing though, you recognize that there's a lot of
yeah,
people I feel like that are their head is so buried in the
yeah,
sand that they don't actually like
that's it for them.
they just literally turn into sheep. You're at
Yeah.
least like because of course, like you go into a job interview and you're presenting yourself in a way that think is going to be most desirable to someone else. You're
Yeah.
you may you're going to be a completely different person than you are around like close friends. And but I think one of the things I wanted to say about that was I think sometimes it's like I view it as kind of putting on masks, like you know um there's a certain mask we put on to go to work, and we're acting a
Yeah.
certain way towards our boss, and then a little bit differently towards our coworkers, or we interact with our parents, and we're wanting them to view us in a certain light, right? We want
Hmm.
generally people want their parents to be proud of them, so we don't want to necessarily say something that is going to make them think like, oh, like my kid's a fucking loser, right? Like,
Yeah.
there's always those like social things that, like we're what I'm trying to say is like we're all a little bit different in those situations, like depending on the social interaction. And I think when you lack like having like real like honest conversations like this, I think people really like do forget like who they are. Like,
Yeah.
truly, because they're so used to putting on all these different masks. They're so used to being the charismatic, charming, you know, businessman at work, and then they come home and they gotta be a certain way with their wife and their kids. It's like, as I feel like you get more and more into adulthood. There's like less chance to like actually like be yourself, maybe.
And something else that I was just thinking about while you were talking was like I think that there's no way to escape that. Like even like a Little Skies or someone that has like basically freedom to do whatever they want. I still don't think. I think that the only time that you can escape that and like completely not wear masks is your household family, like your mom or like my brother, sister, my mom, dad, like that household. But
Mm-hmm.
like other than that, I don't think that you can escape it. Like now that I'm thinking about it, like a good example is like let's just take Lil Skies because he was the quote.
Mm-hmm.
Um he got on for being himself. Like people resonated with his music, or they like his personality because he's not fake. Like, and you can't fool the people. Like that's why
No.
there's only a certain amount of people that are like on that huge artist tier and stuff, because the people just can't be fooled. They know who's just authentic and who's not. You know what I mean? So like you get
Absolutely.
to that level for being real, but like what about like he's what, like a year and a half in of being like at that level, like being popping.
Mm-hmm.
What about like um what about now how you walk down the street and like when you first were popping off, you love taking pictures with your fans and stuff like that, but now you don't want to do that anymore. You don't want to lose those fans. Or like let's say like in the media, how I it's kind of a touchy subject, but like the uh the whole like LGBTQ TQ thing,
Yeah.
a lot of these people, especially in Atlanta, like like especially like Migos, dude, like they're raised like a very Christian. Uh, they were just raised like you can just tell, like they even talk about it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think every single celebrity is okay with the LGBTQ thing, and I'm not saying like anything against them. I'm just saying like you ever see like those tweets how like back in someone will tweet something from like a year ago or 2 years ago, and that was before they blew up. Like Kevin Hart just got grilled for it. I'm sure like a couple other rappers did, and they said stuff. They were just saying like pro homosexual, or not homosexual,
Like
homophobic
yeah.
terms, like the F word or whatever.
Right, right.
And a lot of them, they're raised to not accept that. But as soon as the media grills them, they have to put on that mask and be like, oh, that was very insensitive, and I really apologize. It was
Right.
never my intent. It was like, really, it's never
Yeah.
your intent. You know what
Right.
I mean? So like,
And there was something similar that just came up with you saw the Young Thug No Jumper interview, right?
no.
You didn't watch it?
Oh, the new one. I didn't watch all of it. I think I watched like a snippet of it.
Okay. Well, there's a part basically where Adam 22 is asking Young Thug, his opinion on Lil Nas X. And
Mm-hmm.
he came out as gay.
Yeah, yeah.
Basically, the first thing that Young Thug said was like, "Oh no, like it's a huge mistake. Like,
Yep. I
why did?"
saw that part.
And yeah, and then Adam 22 is like, um, saying like, oh, basically questioning like, actually, I think this was before where it was something on the subject of homosexuality. I think Young Thug was basically explaining how he used to be able to say a lot of stuff that now he can't. So
Exactly. See?
like right now he can't say something like say the F word in terms of
Exactly.
it, whereas and then Adam 22's response to that is like, well, is it that you actually respect gay people? Is that the reason that you're not doing it, or is it because there's all the pressure to not be homophobic?
Exactly. See?
I,
He knows.
yeah, well, and I think the other thing, like everything. I mean, I hate the media for the most part, and the mainstream media, where I think things get taken very out of context. So, for instance, what Young Thug was ended up saying about Lil Nas X is like, he's like, no, like he shouldn't have come out right now, basically.
Right.
Like, but that was what the media was like, basically took. They didn't listen, or they didn't care to listen to anything else, and they were like, you know, Young Thug, homophobic, whatever, against Lil Nas.
See?
But what he was saying, what if you actually listen to the full thing, it was like he was saying that it was a stupid, like that he thought it was gonna, like saying that was gonna distract people from his music.
The music, right?
Where it's gonna make it more about his sexuality and take away from the music, and also, put all of this pressure on. I mean, I don't know how old that dude is, but obviously he's at the beginning of his career, as an artist, and he's gotten like all of this, like I feel like pretty much overnight, with Old Town Road, like
For real.
I can't name another song that I've heard before or whatever. So, he's already, having all kind of the pressures of stardom, and then you add on to that, just like putting something that is very, probably still a touchy thing for him,
Right.
just out there into the world, and then it's like, you got to deal with people's reactions to that, and you got to like be able to be strong and be, be able to be man enough to get like through other, be yourself and like, get through what other people think of you. But it's like, the point was like, it's not an easy thing to do, so that's why I was like saying basically, that he shouldn't have come out at that point, in his opinion.
Right.
But
isn't that crazy? Oh, go ahead.
It gets completely distorted, by the media, and everyone thinks something else, and it's a shame. But
yeah, it's like once it's crazy. It's kind of that industry, like for the industry, like the rap industry and stuff, and like the entertainment industry in general, like all the actors and whatnot. It's kind of an ironic industry to be in. It's more so on like the music side, because we, as fans, we love a story, and like we love hearing about someone's come up, and we like hearing it like X, like we gravitate towards people that are real. You know what I mean? Like Kanye and all these things. And the irony is that those same people that we put in these positions of power, that's basically power, because like now they have the freedom to do whatever they want, say whatever they want because they're real. It's almost like after a certain point, you like after all the hype kind of, like it's not a shock value anymore. Like Lil Pump, he's not really shock value anymore. We just know Lil Pump to be Lil Pump. Now it's kind of like he's in a position where he has to be a people pleaser. Like he can't say all those same things anymore. Like I feel like Young Thug would be one of those people to not really give a crap about saying stuff like that and offending whatever community. You know what I mean? And it's like he probably still might slip up, now and again, but like I'm sure there's like a manager or like a team behind him saying like, nope, you need to put out a statement apologizing to that group, because then you lose supporters, you lose that fan base, like you don't sell out those tickets anymore and stuff like that. So it's like once you get on for being real, but then it's like you got to be fake after a certain point. It's crazy, it's ironic.
It is. I mean, I feel like the hope there is that the apology is genuine. And I think sometimes it is. I think sometimes, people we all are human, we make mistakes, and mm-hmm. I think it's huge to be able to actually just man up and admit, I feel like we all, we get into fights with, people we love and say, stupid shit we end up regretting. Like that's, and have to apologize. Like it's part of life. And I was listening to, it was something off Care Package, the new Drake.
Oh,
new, but like
it was re-released.
Drake's just come up with a bunch of songs from YouTube or whatever that he'd previously released and package them up into the Care Package. But mm-hmm. there was one song with J. Cole, and there's basically a J. Cole lyric that is basically saying basically insulting someone and using autism, like saying, I forgot the exact lyric, but saying, you're dumb, you're autistic, right? Like mm-hmm. putting, people with autism down. And so this was years ago, like when the song actually got released. So, and after it was released, like I was reading back recently, that J. Cole first, people, like he probably was just throwing that word around to defend what he had said, but I think, he probably didn't put enough thought into it and just released the verse, without really thinking about how that was gonna, mm-hmm. What he was really saying. But I could tell, like, I think it was an apology on Twitter, but I could tell it wasn't just the canned, like, from his manager, like, hey, I'm sorry to let everyone, it wasn't that bullshit. It was like,
airhead,
it was like literally like, talking about how he never, intended to, put people with autism down, and how sometimes, like the smartest people, having to be autistic, and it's like, just all this stuff where it's like, it seemed clear to me that he wasn't just apologizing because someone else was making him apologize. Like he really realized he fucked up. And then Drake off, took that those lines, off of the record. It sounds really weird because it's just like a pause for like a line. It's like a bleeped out curse word, but it's like just the whole line in that song from
really?
Care Package, that you just don't hear anything. It's just mute. It's kind of odd, but
What?
yeah. But it's like I feel like it's almost cool in a way that it's like for people who didn't realize that controversy back then, like me, like now I can like hear that now and be like, why is that? Why are there no lyrics there? And then like you
Mm-hmm.
start reading, and it's like, both of them, put out apologies, and I think it was sincere, and you know, move on from there. But
Yeah. No,
yeah.
it's real.
Anyway, let's see. So I wanted to ask you a few things. Where to get started? So, we touched briefly, on X, and I think, from what you told me, he was someone that was very inspiring to you just in your process of getting started with making music, right?
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, and I mean, what do you think? Like, what was it about him that was different, or
Um,
was attractive to you?
so I think it's like timing is everything, and I'm now like doing more like with my studies now, like just like trying to make it myself with like music and stuff, and like just watching the greats and stuff. Um, I'm realizing that like early adaptation is like the key to like great success, like being sometimes like being one of the top tiers. Like there's probably people that did the same thing as Kanye that were never unheard of. It's just like they Kanye got onto it early, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um, so where that ties in with X is he touched a bunch of people, like especially in hip hop. If you go on Apple Music right now, the top like 30 songs on the global charts for streams and stuff is all rap. Like it's like the most like dominant genre.
Hmm.
So for someone in rap to target like mental health and stuff, like suicide and like because when he came out onto the scene, it hadn't really been talked about like as someone's focus. Like you go to X for the depressed like rap that was like that's supposed to like that touches on those topics. We never really had that before, and I don't know, man. I think that's what kind of gravitated me towards him because like now everyone's doing it. Like I don't get the same shock value. Not even shock value. I just don't. It doesn't resonate as much. Like hearing Trippie Redd talk about it. It's like I just don't see it. I don't. In his words, I just feel like he goes in there and he just freestyle stuff and like that's a hot topic because it got X so big. So like now everyone starts going towards that topic. But we know who the people were that like kind of really like dwelled on that or whatever. I just don't see. I don't. It doesn't hit me like it does with X. It doesn't. Juice World, same thing. Like he's a depressed emo rap is what they call it right now. But it just seems like it's all like orchestrated, I guess. Like
I
not.
feel
I'm
like
not saying by like. Oh, go ahead.
I feel like it's what people want to hear now, and I feel
What
like
people
a
want to
lot of
hear.
part because of X, and then with his untimely passing, it was like people wanted to hear a continuation of that music style that he really
Right.
put on the map, right? So,
Right. And I just think that he was so impactful because um before he passed, he was putting out like little vlogs and stuff like that. And like he didn't when he was doing it, like while he was alive, I was like I feel like the realest people wouldn't have to document that, especially in their position. It just comes off as fake. Like I feel like you can't really go to and do fundraisers and stuff like that without it coming off as fake if you're like, oh, like hey, like Skinny from the Nine, he filmed himself giving 100 burgers to the homeless. You know what I mean? It's like
mhm.
why do you need to film that? You know, it just comes off as fake. Like just go help them and then like if you want which you shouldn't do it just because you want recognition. I just feel like that's awful. But like if you do want recognition for being a good person and stuff, let it be word of mouth. You know, like hey,
Yeah,
something that you don't know about Skinny from the
yeah,
Nine is that he gave 100 burgers to like let someone else do it. Don't be like, hey, look, I'm being a good guy. Like you know what? It's just so fake.
but
You know what I mean? And
did he give 100 burgers like one dude?
no. He bought like he went to like a area where there was homeless. Like, it's on his Instagram still, and he bought like a bags of just like dollar menu cheeseburgers and just like passed them all out. And he was like, "See you Skinny the Nine, give them back." It was like, dude, like that's great, but
like
like you just come off as
name.
fake. That's just
It sounds,
dumb. Like
yeah, it sounds pretty egotistical.
you're
But
right, and
that's a perfect segue, honestly. What you were saying about, it's about, building that reputation. Like people, he
mhm,
could have done that, and there was all the people seeing that. They knew
mhm.
who he was, that, I mean, maybe, but
Yeah,
they were seeing him be a real dude, seeing him, help people out in need, and probably gained a lot of respect for that.
wouldn't that be
And
crazy if he didn't film that though? You know what I mean? Yeah,
yeah,
like I see what you're
cool,
saying.
cool,
Like
cool. But who I this is what I want to talk about is Nipsey Hussle. Is like, I feel like he didn't
I was
film.
going there.
He didn't like, to be honest, his name had. I feel like I'm similar to a lot of people in this way. I kind of, I wish it wasn't the case, but I I had heard his name before he passed, but
Mhm.
I didn't know any of this stuff about him. I didn't expect the outpouring of support that we've seen from, from other artists, from friends,
Thank you.
just nationally, I don't know, maybe internationally, you know, how it's once, people hear these stories about him, doing all this stuff to give back, like clearly if like we didn't know about it. He was just doing
Exactly.
it, right? Right?
Real. He's a
Doing
real one for that.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And everyone respected that. Like
Hmm.
because it's like maybe he didn't get maybe he wasn't working hard enough to try to like, get that sort of clout,
And that's why I respect him even more. Like
Exactly.
that speaks leaps and bounds. Like and energy I feel like is so real. I hear people talk about energy and stuff and like I used to just hate on it, but I really
Yeah.
feel like it's real because
Yeah.
my my cousin, he used to always talk about Nipsey Hussle when he was alive. He was like, "Hey, get on Nipsey Hussle." I was like, "Dude, like no, like he'd always make jokes. He'd always we'd talk about artists and he'd be like, but you need to listen to Nipsey Hussle.
Mhm.
And he'd always try to show me his stuff and I gave him multiple chances, but like his style to this day, it still wasn't something that like I really wanted to go to personally. I I he was good at his craft. I know he wasn't making bad music. It just wasn't what I wanted to listen to.
Sure.
But it's crazy how um yeah, it was sad when X died, but it hurt when Nipsey Hussle died and I didn't even listen to his I can't name like 5 sentences from any of his songs. And I
Right.
think what yeah, isn't that crazy? Like I remember waking up one day and from a dream and I had a dream about Nipsey Hussle and like in the dream I was bawling my eyes out crying. Dead serious, true story. And
Yeah.
I woke up and I had tears running down my face. Like, why am I thinking about someone that I never even listened to their music or anything? I
Yeah.
think like his actions and not it being documented subconsciously, that must have like hit me. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't thinking about it until I had that dream, and then that's why I came out with that single that has like the God Will Rise and stuff, and like I even talk about Nipsey in there a little bit on the hook.
Hmm.
But
Yeah, just for those, for those people who don't know, I don't think we mentioned the fact that you do music. So that's what you're,
yeah, yeah,
referring to right now. Uh, Nobody loves you.
yeah, yeah.
Plug,
It's the label, bro.
plug social. Gonna plug that social, man.
Yeah, for real. Follow me.
Nipsey got the, Grammy nominated album, which I think is so crazy that was he got the Grammy nomination before he died. Like
Oh,
before,
did he?
yeah. And at that point, like I had no clue that he had gotten, Grammy nominated album. I hadn't even listened to any of the album, that
Hmm.
album Victory Lap. And I think that just speaks to like he wasn't the guy, um, on Instagram. I don't know. Maybe he was, but he wasn't. He was well respected, um, by the people like that it really mattered from like people,
Um,
the music critics, whatever,
yeah.
they
Were
heard
you
that,
gonna say it?
they're like, they're not looking at how many Instagram followers, they're not looking at, how much lean and
Yeah.
next and
And how
purpose,
many chains and stuff like.
not
And I think that. Oh, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
no, they're just, it's just like, he had a just very different formula than what we see from a lot of artists now. And I think um, I don't know, it's again back to that theme of kind of following your own path. I think
Yeah.
he could have easily copied a format, copied another artist's format in order to get probably way more popping than he was, and probably have way more people would have known about him when he died if he just, started talking about some basic stuff. But he always kept it real. Like he always,
And I love that. Because
yeah,
that's what it's all about, dude. At the end of the day, like, I
yeah,
was sitting in my car and I love Uzi Vert, and I was scrolling through his feed again, and he's tweeting right now because his grandma's going through it. She just had a stroke and like a tumor on her eye, and he tweeted, he was like, if for y'all that don't know, my grandma's the one that raised me, and I love her more. I love her more than I love clothes, because I get, you know what I mean? Like he was basically cracking a joke about, because we all know that he's got that fashion page,
right,
but what I thought was so crazy is how it doesn't mean anything. Like I was thinking about, like, man, like if I was in that position and like I could get everything that I wanted, because he also tweeted and said that he was like, I've been buying the world recently just
yeah,
to
no,
hide the pain. You saw that?
yeah, I had seen that tweet a little while ago. Yeah, it's the exact tweet is, I've been flexing so hard and buying the world because deep down I'm hurt.
Yeah, which that just goes to show that, like, we think that like you automatically get magical powers when you get to that level, but it's like, if I were to blow up right now and I was the person that made Old Town Road, I'm still sitting here, nothing changes. You know what I mean? Like I still got medical bills if I'm sick, like everything. Like money can't buy all that.
Yeah,
And it can't make me happy. So Nips, to bring it back to Nipsey Hussle, yeah, he was probably talking about like, or he was probably flexing a little bit. I scrolled through like his feed and stuff, fairly recently, actually, a couple weeks ago, and like he still flexes a little bit, which I don't. That's fine. I don't care about, but that I don't think that takes away from the other stuff that he was doing, because we all need to support ourselves. We all want nice things. Like he's a human, but he didn't lose himself in that. I think was the key, because all that matters at the end of the day is how you're remembered, because there's nothing else. There's really not much else to this world if you think about it. Like the only thing that's left at the end of the day when we all die is just memories. So like, I don't think he sacrificed that at all. He could have did crazier things or did whatever to get himself out there, and even if he was well known when he was on, or when he was alive, get himself known faster, because he was like 33 and he's only been around for so many years, not too long. But I think he was I think that he was still at that same level. He just took a longer path, like a more righteous path, if that makes sense.
yeah.
And I think that's what matters. You know what I mean?
I feel like, obviously Nipsey was someone who is, a community leader, did a whole heck of a lot of good and always kept it very real. And I think, like, what you brought up with Uzi, it's like, there are all these very popular artists now, but one of the things that makes me still find their music really interesting is that they acknowledge the pain. They acknowledge that they may be sipping lean and popping Percocets, but it may not be because they're trying to get high. Like they may be because they're trying to,
they're going through it.
Traumatic events. I was reading like an in-depth article, on Future, and it was like something crazy, man, about like when he was like 10 years old or something, there was like a robbery, of his house, and his whole family like got tied up. Like,
no way.
Yeah. Like he was like
what?
tied up, and they were like about to kill him or whatever, and then somehow like something else happened, and it's just, I think, speaks to the fact that it's like,
I didn't know that.
I read like a in-depth like article on Future, whatever, where the journalist had talked about that. But I mean, I think it's like, to me it's super boring. I mean, obviously, I guess artists have to make like the club songs or whatever, but when the majority of the music is just focused on the positive, and it's like, I'm gonna even bring this to like TV shows and movies too. I hate superhero movies.
Really?
I find them boring as hell. I like
Really?
movies, TV shows, boring.
What?
So
You never told me that.
here's the thing. So what I love is the anti-hero movies, where it's like the person
Vigilante?
because what's that?
Like a vigilante? Like they're just
Not,
kind of in the middle?
not necessarily. It's like I feel like it's like a person who is doing something bad but has good intentions. Like they got a good heart.
Yeah, yeah.
So the best example would be like Breaking Bad. Walter White. You know the story of that, right?
Never watched that show.
Really? Well, like the basic gist. I mean, just to explain it, it was like he was like a high school chemistry teacher or whatever, and got a diagnosis of cancer, and he had a kid, with some developmental disability, and his wife. So it's like he needed to. He kind of knew that this cancer was going to kill him within a certain amount of time, and it was like, he's a high school teacher. He didn't have that reserve of money built up to be able to make sure his family's secure. So it's like it's bad enough to know that you're gonna die, but knowing that the people you love like may not be, they not be good, I think is huge. And that was the whole premise was like he keeps doing more and more evil stuff. He starts out just cooking some meth, kind of on the low or whatever. But then and he gets to be like kingpin status where he's killing people and like doing all this crazy stuff. But it's interesting because it's like it's that dichotomy between good and evil that I think it's like it's an acknowledgement that we all have
a little bit of evil
and bad sides. We're not all like no one's all bad, no one's all good. It's like we do we have certain things we care about, and we're I guess some people are willing to go to greater lengths than others to to protect that at all costs. But I don't know, other I'm trying to think just like other like anti-hero movies like or TV shows. Like, you ever watch Breaking Bad or not Breaking Bad? I mean, Mad Men.
No.
No, but
no, bro. I was into like
won't go into
cartoons and shit.
yeah. No, I mean, as I grew older, it was just like I don't know, it just became interesting when it's like I feel like it's just so much more relatable because it's like oftentimes I feel like it's or another show like Californication, really good show, super slept on, but I think the main character, I actually related a lot to him because it was like a lot of the stuff he would say was he was trying to say it with good intentions, but it came off a different way and then kind of caused a lot of his problems. Like, you could always tell that he was coming from a good place. He had a good heart, but he was still fucking everything up. And it's like, I feel like that too, where it's like, sometimes you're just, you think you're doing it all right, and, whatever, you seem to just be fucking things up.
Yeah. I kind of want to like tie that into like just kind of everything that we were talking about prior, just like especially like the entertainment industry. It doesn't even have to be entertainment industry. It can just be, I feel like in general. I feel like a lot of the times, like that topic that we just talked about, maybe it's just the fact that it actually has to be that, like the fact that we as like a society, we don't recognize that we all have a good and a bad side. Like X, especially the entertainment industry, they're so crucified when they do one wrong thing. Like, in my opinion, I don't know if X did everything that he was being accused of, but I definitely feel like he did do some of that stuff. But even like now that he's dead, like people Spotify, like they did him dirty, dude. Like they took all his stuff down and all that stuff. Like it sucks that, and I was talking to my coworkers about him, and I was talking about Chris Brown too. It took a while for Chris Brown to get back to where he's at now. He's got No Guidance with Drake. It's a popping record and stuff. But like, I feel like is all we can do at the end of the day in terms of like making things right as humans. Like, we're not gods or anything like that. All we can do is acknowledge it and just give our condolences and like just apologize. You know what I mean? Acknowledge and apologize. That's all we can do as humans. So, and I think um, you still need to see action after that. I think that's important. That's a big part of it. You can't just look the part and say the things. You have to do the actions too. Like you gotta be able to tell, like, all right, he really means that he's sorry, and then see the actions, like he's trying to turn it around. I don't think we give people that chance. It is just more broadcasted in like the entertainment industry because it's on TV, but like we really don't give people chances out here. Like even if X did some of those bad things, I'm sure the people that are going to be watching this, they've all done things that people don't know that they've done that our jaws would probably drop. You know what I mean? Um, but I feel like we all deserve, and because we've all done that, every single person on this planet has done something that if someone were to find out, their jaw would drop. Because we have all done it, I feel like it's only fair that we all forgive each other. As long as they acknowledge, as long as they apologize, and as long as they do action. Right. And I think X was trying to do action. Yeah, some things it was kind of I don't want to say fake, but I just feel like it was unnecessary for him to broadcast it on like on social media, on YouTube, that like he was doing the helping hand challenge and stuff. A lot of people said that he was just doing that to get at Drake or whatever, or maybe the other way around. I don't know, but he was still trying to turn it around. Like I feel like everyone agreed that like he was on his way to a fundraiser. We didn't know that, or maybe we did. I don't know, but I didn't know that until after he got killed that same day. You know what I mean? So he accomplished what needed to be accomplished, in my opinion. He said sorry, apologized, and he made action. So that's all that we could ask for. But we're so quick to judge and so slow to forgive. And they're still treating him like a dog in the media to this day. Whenever they talk about him, abuser, or the first thing they bring up in if it's a new X article is he was facing trial for things that he did. It's like, yeah, you can bring it up or whatever, but like I just feel like it's really disgusting or like really wrong to just focus on that. You know what I mean? When we all have issues, I don't know, but
yeah, I mean, there's another component where it's like he is not able to defend himself anymore, right?
Dirty dude, right? Can't defend him.
Yeah.
Can't defend himself.
Yeah, and I mean, he honestly he's the perfect example of an anti-hero. Just like I was talking about, like someone who, I think had good intentions, wanted to do good in the world. I mean, he said on the intro of, was that question mark or where he's like saying, I think it was the intro where he's like basically saying, that he wants to, numb,
numb your depression.
Your depression.
Please try. 17. The explanation.
Well, you remember the exact, like, it was like something like, I hope this music can heal your depression, or if not, at least
numb it. Yep. That's what he said, basically.
Yeah. So it's like, man, like that. And, obviously is something that shows like plenty of people, you're obviously one of them, but I mean, he has kind of built up, even though, obviously he has a lot of haters now because of the stuff we're talking about, but, he does have a cult following, like where people just like, especially the kids.
Yeah. And I think it's
talked about in previous conversations, like the kids are the ones that
exactly. That was his main fan base. Like, not to cut you off, but my girlfriend's cousins, they're like 10 years old. They're in 7th and 6th grade, 8th grade. Yeah. And they tell me that their favorite artist was X. It's just that early adaptation that I was telling you about. Like, 17 is still a great album. Why it caught my attention, he came onto the scene as a hip hop artist, and he didn't catch my attention at first until, like I told you, he dropped I Don't Want to Do This Anymore. We've never, first of all, that title alone is just like, if you have a title of a song like that and you actually pull it off in terms of like making it a good record and like touch on the topic that I think you're going to, it's like you got my attention, right? No one was really attacking it head on. Like maybe Tyler would talk about like a sentence in a song, but like when your rap image is nothing but the depression side and stuff, he was like the first of his kind to really just like own that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I
just want to say this real quick.
No, not to detract anything from that. It just reminded me of something I remember like thinking this was really meaningful like a while ago. I think I heard this back in high school. I'm just pulling up the lyrics here. You hear the song by Lil Wayne, "I Feel Like Dying." You
I've
remember
never heard the song.
that? Oh man, it's
No.
crazy. It's a crazy beat, but I'm gonna just like read a couple of the lyrics behind it because it's like, you know, it reminds me, like you were saying, of just like this sort of catchy name, not in a good way, but it's like, like, whoa, like
Right.
the
You want to
biggest
hear what's going
superstar
on.
in the world, the biggest, like this, was dropped at the time, around the time where it was like peak Lil Wayne, whenever that was,
Right.
11 or 12 or whatever, but where he's talking about all this stuff and he's like not glorifying these things anymore. It's like I'm gonna read a couple lyrics. So here, I can mingle with the stars and throw a party on Mars. I am a prisoner locked up behind Xanax bars. Like,
oh shoot,
that line's crazy.
No, it is.
There's another swimming laps around a bottle of Louis XIII, jumping off a mountain into a sea of codeine. I'm at the top,
shit.
but still I climb, and if I should ever fall, the ground will then turn to wine. I feel like flying, then I feel like frying, then I feel like dying. Like, first off, this man's a poet. Like,
oh yeah, dude, legend.
Honestly,
legend.
I said like rap, I feel like is, modern day poetry.
Of course.
And it doesn't get the respect, by a lot of people that, I think it should, because, I think a lot of, well, especially like older people, tend to just easily write it off as just like, oh, this is this rebellious, rap, and bad influences on kids. But it's like the kids are not stupid. Kids gravitated towards X. When I was a kid, I've told you before, I gravitated towards Kid Cudi, where it was like, man, like going through some real dark times in my life, and I just remember, playing some of his music, and it was just like, man, like this is my therapy, like this is my like ability to like God, soundtrack
to my life.
Yeah, oh man, there were some. I don't know if it made me cry, but just some real. There's some real, like, maybe I'll use that one of those lyrics in the future, for that intro segment. I'm just like, yep. Right now, there was like something where it was like, oh yeah, okay, here. On Christmas time, my mom Christmas grind got me most of what I wanted. How'd you do it, mom? Huh? She copped the toys I would play with in my room by myself. Why he by himself? He got two older brothers, one hood, one good. An independent older sister kept me fly when she could, but they all didn't see the little bit of sadness in me, Scotty. Like, that's hard. Right?
Damn, dude. I gotta listen.
Yeah.
I gotta listen to that whole album. I've never listened to the whole thing.
Yeah. Honestly, every lyric in that is just realness. I feel like it's pure. It's just I think that's the thing. It's like going back to the thing I was saying about like, I don't think, a lot of older people think, rap is like, this, rebellion and teaching people like bad things or whatever. But it's like, the thing is like, we get to an age where we don't believe that Santa's real anymore, or, that like all this stuff. It's like, we've passed that point. We're like, okay, there are all these problems. We get to high school and it's like, damn, like there are all of these issues. Like people are like people are, struggling with issues of self-identity and mental health and like all this stuff. And it's like, people they need that, they need to hear that at least connect with someone, at least have someone hear their struggles, but if not, at least be able to hear someone else going through, something similar.
Yeah.
Than someone they look up to, right? Where it's not it's not the junkie on the street corner talking about, hard times. It's like, it's someone who's like well respected, has millions, like what you were talking about earlier with like super famous, super, people are super like, it's not going to solve money's not going to solve your problems. It's not going to make you happy. you're still, your parents are still going to die one day. You're still going to die one day. Like,
Yep.
you can't take away some of those like fundamental parts of life. What about?
Oh, we're gonna say?
No, I was going to ask you. Oh yeah, just what you think about like, since we've been on the topic for music for a while. I was just curious.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of the things I was just thinking about before we started up, but sort of about how rap, like, since, and tying this back into what you were saying about, like, you said something like the top 30 songs or whatever on some chart,
Yeah.
rap songs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like basically that, to me that means, the world is listening to rap music. Like, rap music,
World, yeah.
it creates culture. I mean, how do you think, like, when it's, rappers talking about, obviously, like, just carrying around guns, like, the I was just listening, like, the Young Thug track, the first song off that album, and it's like part of the chorus is like he's explaining like why he wore that dress. On Jeffrey, the cover art was like a dress, him wearing a dress.
Yeah.
So he was like explaining why, he's like, had to wear the dress because I had a stick. He was like, had an AK-47 or whatever dress. And it's like the thing is, like, he says it in a super like catchy way where it's like people are gonna be like singing along to that, and it's like, but at the same time, like, we're at this era of society where like gun violence, is kind of
Crazy,
like
yeah.
I'm high, or at least, with all the school shootings and crazy going on. It's like, what do you think about, like, they're not really touching on some of those sensitive aspects of culture, like prescription drugs and stuff, the opioid epidemic, but rappers are still talking about sipping lean. And
I think it doesn't have to be like in the rap song to still influence people to do good. Like, I don't think that anyone really wants to hear, and I might be wrong, but it would just take me back to like the 90s, and I don't even like 90s rap, to be honest with you. Like, that's just my opinion. But like, what I was going to say is, I don't think anyone wants to hear like, oh, guns ain't cool, and you better go to school. You know what I mean? Like, there's not really a way to in your song talk about that topic and say like, hey, it's not, you know what I mean? Like, it's not cool.
It's like sounds off preachy, I feel like.
Yeah, it comes off preachy,
right.
And I don't think no one wants to hear that. You know what I mean? You can't make it sound hot. What I've noticed is that some artists, some people, they're really about it. Like Baby, the Baby, I'd never test that mofo. You know what I mean? Migos, no, I'm not doing it. People that are straight from the dirty, dude, you better leave them alone. Like, but at the same time, like, if you're gonna say those things, own it. I have a couple things actually that are all gonna tie in. So that, yeah, if you're gonna say those things, own it. Some artists, what, like Nav, people, because like not everyone that's on is about it. You know what I mean? I don't think Nav's about anything. You know what I mean? Like, he was probably just in his mom's basement playing video games and studying rap, and like, you know what I mean? He's one of them.
Yeah.
And so am I, technically. I'm not about it, but he still talks about it, but he's not talking about him being the one doing it. He'll say like, hey, I got killers. You know what I mean? Like,
or like, look, Kendrick Lamar's another great example of that, right? Where he's talking about all of this like hard street shit, like, especially with like Good Kid, Mad City. My favorite project of his, and
but he puts it on nameless people. You know what I mean? Like, he'll talk about like, instead of like, I'm gonna shoot you up, he's like warning you like, hey, I got people that are, so it's like it takes all the pressure off of him in a sense. But like, you can still get the message across, and it still sounds just as hot. You know what I mean? And also the reason, what I was the first thing I said when you asked me the question was, I don't think it has to be done like through the music, because if they like your music, they're gonna be watching what you're doing outside. Like, everyone just gets curious about someone that their music resonates with them, right? I feel like, and I could be wrong, but like, I'm such like a student to like the just like what's going on and like what's popular. Like I always like that's just what I live for. I love like rap and I love just music and stuff. But I've seen so many times, man, that like even now, like the baby or people that are heavy on like violence and stuff and like their music. I feel like everything happens for a reason. I feel like they might be doing that now, but like it always turns around. You know what I mean? So that's why I can't even hate on people that aren't me. For one, I'm just not that person. But two, just I don't hate on people that make it before me and stuff like that because I feel like they have a purpose to be there. Like there's a reason why like people that are saying like, man, if they can do it, I can do it too. And like they're questioning like, man, it needs to be me up there. No, it doesn't because I don't think you probably that's not your purpose. I don't feel like it's either you haven't worked enough or it's not your time or it will never be your time. It's not your purpose. What I'm saying by that is X is a perfect example, but there's tons of people that I've seen that have literally done a 180. X came on the scene. He got famous from fights. Like my boy said that he didn't even know X was a rapper. He just knew him because he was famous for getting into fights. He was in his music he wasn't promoting any sort of positivity, you know what I mean? But I feel like sometimes the universe, whatever you want to believe, like if it happens for a reason, sometimes um people are put into a position even if at that time they're not ready to like portray their purpose and like their message. It always comes to where like they turn around and like they change and like they start promoting good. Like X was negative and literally, but like we would have been like, dude, why is this ignorant kid like promoting like can't keep my dick in my pants and like I'm gonna shoot you and your parents and blah blah blah, like in that Look at Me song. And now like look what came out of that. Like there's a reason for that, you know what I mean? Like he could have been he for all we know he could that like that's the baby story, you know what I mean? Like he was doing the exact same thing that the baby is doing right now, talking about violence, all negativity. And I don't know Lil Baby's music enough to know, or the baby's music enough to know like if he's doing nothing but negativity. But X was, you know what I mean? He wasn't talking about like all that stuff right away when he blew up.
Right.
But like you see like you can't tell me that's not like destiny. You know what I mean? Like look, we needed him. You know what I mean? Like that's like me, and like and I get on from like doing that same stuff, like talking about killing and like all these things and stuff. And like who knows? I might have like a life-changing experience. I might get in a car accident or something, and um, I it completely changes my message, or like I say something that a kid needs to hear, and like that serves my purpose. Like X, his purpose is complete. He's gone. You know what I mean? He literally served what he was here on this earth to do. We didn't see it coming. Like he was the first of his kind, for the rap scene, which is the most popular, like eyes on, like everyone's eyes are on hip hop. He was the first of his kind to really like just attack depression head on. Everything was the theme was depression every single time. Sad, Moonlight, 17 caught my eye because he said, dude, this album's going to be it's going to be all about depression. And I was like, what? Like, you know, I was intrigued because we've never seen that in rap. And it served exactly what it was meant to do. I really believe that like everything happens for a reason, and like that's why even though like the gun violence and stuff like that, like they're there for a reason. I feel like they're there for a reason, and something positive will always come out of that, or like they have a purpose, you know what I mean? And you can't question that.
I feel like what's really sad though is, you know, I mean, it's kind of the culture or just people after X passing that kind of created that, you know. I mean, there was so much about him, you know, blowing up, you know, there was so much more conversation about him, you know, right, once he passed. But I feel like, you know, I'm thinking of other people where it's like, I feel like before, like, you know, other rappers, I'm thinking of like, you know, Fredo Santana. The dude, he, you know, died from, I think, liver failure or a heart attack or something. But it was basically, you know, tied back to that. but he had like a string of tweets like right before that, like when
Really?
in the hospital, like not right before he died, but like when he was on that sort of health battle, and he basically said like, fuck this, like, I've been getting high all this time to try to cover up the demons. He's like, fuck, I've got PTSD and all this stuff. And he's like, I might go to rehab, like all this stuff. But what's so sad is he realized that, or he, kind of ultimately, yeah, he realized that or learned that lesson, and it was too late. Like he didn't have a chance to make it right. Or like someone like Lil Peep, who I don't know, we never really talked about him much, but I feel like there was stuff, just like hours before he died, just about I think him tweeting about just taking all this Xanax or whatever, and trying to like numb his pain and whatever. And it's like, it's sad when those people don't have a chance to like get to the other side and like actually put out like positive stuff, right? Like,
Right. I think we all have a choice, like,
yeah,
just because you have a purpose doesn't mean that I still think you have the choice to serve your purpose or not. You know what I mean? I think that's all it really comes down to. If you think about it, like it's almost as if like you're putting it off, like you're putting off what you're destined on this earth to do. But like, just because you keep putting it off doesn't mean that you just get unlimited time until what you're supposed to do is complete, if that makes sense. That's how I feel, maybe.
that like,
It's
so
like,
sort of,
oh,
it's more like more and more pressing. Is that what you're saying?
it's like if I'm addicted to like cigarettes,
Yeah.
and there's two paths now. If I keep smoking these cigarettes, then I know what I have to do, right? Like I know that my let's just say I knew what my purpose was, and my purpose was to be an advocate to stop smoking, for kids to stop smoking. But like and the only reason why I'm an advocate is because I battle with the same thing. You know what I mean? So it only makes sense that people would relate to someone that went through the same thing.
Yeah.
And but I don't kick the habit. You know what I mean? So like there's two paths. I can either keep doing it and eventually die without serving my purpose, I guess. I don't even know what I'm trying to say, but does that kind of make sense? Like,
yeah, it does.
I feel like you oh, go ahead.
There's a few things I think of, when you say that, and it's like, technically, I guess, you like those commercials where it's like the people who have like that hole in their throat, like who smoking, right? It's like horrible, just like disgusting, like terrible stuff. And it's like, those people, I'm sure, have realized like, oh fuck, like, I screwed myself up real bad. But it's like, I'm sure they got paid for the commercial too. But in a way, they're still serving that purpose of.
So yeah, maybe I agree.
Like say a kid that's like, whatever, you're at that age, and I never really felt like that in Eugene. I don't know. I didn't have any friends around me who were smoking cigarettes, but say in another place, where that is something, a kid's really considering doing, and you see that on TV, it's like something like, you could hear all day about like, hey, you do this and you're gonna hurt your lungs and all that, but you see the graphic of that dude, like that's powerful.
You're like, oh shit. So
yeah,
maybe one way or the other, whether it affects you negatively or positively, your purpose will always be served.
Yeah, hopefully. I think that's the hope, right?
Hopefully,
yeah. Served a purpose. It's almost like, why did we live, in a sense, right? Like,
exactly.
If we realize our lives are meaningless, I think that's where a lot of people's like depression comes in. Like, you realize,
of course,
like, you're not serving your purpose, whatever that is. And I think some people I feel like at this point in my life, like, my purpose, part of my purpose is finding my purpose. Like, I have an idea of it, but fully finding that, I feel like, is a purpose within itself. But there's one other thing I wanted to say about, like, people, they relate if you're going through it, right, with like the same thing, like, a fellow smoker or whatever is gonna,
Right.
see you talk about that and be like, oh, maybe I can change or whatever.
What you were saying about like can't relate. I don't think we'll, unless you like really gone through it. Like someone can tell you like a million times, like, um, I don't know what a good example is. Like, hey, drugs aren't good, or like crack isn't good, or something like that. And like, yeah, you'll put it in their mind that like crack isn't good, but like something that I've been realizing recently, is that like words just really have no weight until like you've gone through it yourself. Like it doesn't matter how many people you meet and stuff, like you really just don't know until you go through it. Like a quick great example is um when um I was growing up like into high school and stuff like that. My older cousins, one in particular who just graduated when I was a freshman, he was like trying to tell me like, dude, like be as social as you can. Um, yeah, just talk to as many people as you can. And um, as far as like commitments and like relationships and stuff like that, just like you will regret like being too afraid to like talk to people and like meeting like girls or going out to like friend get-togethers and stuff like that. And he just like all the time he would always remind me of that. And I'd always like acknowledge like, okay, yeah, like all right. And I didn't realize until like after high school that like that stuff was like important, you know what I mean? Like I feel like regret is way he was trying to get me to not regret, you know what I mean? And I feel like I do regret like a bunch of the things that I had opportunities to do, like go out with friends or like talk to that girl that was interested in me, like I'm just being honest, you know what I mean? And um it it had no weight at the time, like you know what I mean? Like I really just didn't know what was at stake until it was too late, because I didn't even have like a glimpse of, oh shoot, like what he's saying is like is you know what I mean? Like it didn't hit. It
Mm,
was, you know what I mean? So but that could be applied to like everything. You know what I mean? Like you just the only thing you can do as a human is just acknowledge that and be respectful of, and you know what I mean, just have an open mind in terms of like what someone else is going through if you haven't gone through it yourself.
right, right.
Yeah.
So you regret like not taking some of those risks back in high school.
Oh hell yeah,
You're
dude.
like you
Oh
wish you
hell yeah, don't you?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, dude. Like
Yeah, yeah. I think
sucks. Like my. Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead. I was
I,
already talking. Go
I
ahead.
I feel like you had something good.
I was like eating bugs and stuff and watching Fear Factor. It's weird. But he would always remind me every weekend, like bro, like he'd ask for updates and stuff, and we just talk, you know, just like how normal people do. And I was like, oh, this girl likes me, or oh, my friends didn't, or I didn't go out with my friends, or like they're doing something this weekend or something like that. And what I lost was just building relationships. You know
Mm,
what I mean? I never got to know certain people. So I that could have been, like I said, I told you earlier in the chat that I had 3 friends that weren't blood on my that I
mm.
can count on one hand. I might have had 4 or 5, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Or
and you never know where
with
that
like
would lead.
situations, right, or
Yeah.
situations with girls and stuff like that, like um opportunities that were just so clear and stuff that
Mhm.
I regretted, like once I left high school and stuff like that. It was like, wow, dude, like um here I was like expecting like, oh, you know what, like I'm waiting for like the perfect person, or I'll get a better person than this person, and then like they glow up, you know what I mean, or like, you know what I mean. So um so words just have no weight until you go through it yourself, no matter what, in my opinion.
Yeah, no,
But
that's actually a really deep subject that there's a lot of different ways it could kind of attack that. But I think back to high school too, and it's like um, for me, I mean, I definitely always struggled with a lot of social anxiety, especially high school in particularly.
Right.
And I think honestly, a lot of it stems from like I feel like we all have this, you know, it's human to worry about what other people think about you
Yep.
and care, you know, you know, you'd be like a
Yep.
psychopath if you didn't.
For
Um,
real.
but I think the deal with a lot of like social anxiety, like where it becomes crippling. Like I don't know if this is exactly like for you, but there'd be times I'd go to parties and just be like, I didn't go to a lot of parties in high school, but
Hmm.
you know, when I did, I would just feel like, man, I'm just like too like in my shell. Like one of the things, honestly, I feel like like I almost wish I started like drinking and stuff, like earlier, just
I've
because like
thought about that.
because
Yep.
that because it's like it dumbs you down enough to like be able to be relaxed in situations that otherwise you wouldn't be relaxed in. And when you're not,
Basically, you just fit in.
yeah, and when you're not relaxed in a situation, people can read that like the
Hmm.
like when it comes off like you're you know awkward or you're uncomfortable with the situation. It's like I feel like we all sort of mirror what we see other people doing. So it's like and it goes back to that thing about energy, right? Where if like I'm putting out all of this like awkward, energy and I'm feeling like really nervous, it's probably going to cause the other person to feel awkward and really
Yeah.
nervous too. And like
Yep.
I've found like, well, just partly studying, the brain and social psychology, but also just, getting real life experience. It's like
Hmm.
what, we want to be around people, and this may be obvious to some people, but we want to be around people who bring out good emotions, like
Hmm.
who evoke good emotions in us. So we don't want to, be around someone who's going to make us, they're feeling like anxious and awkward, and then we start feeling that like no, like
Yeah, you
we
want to be with
want to,
someone that's good,
yeah,
makes you feel comfortable.
yeah, and I feel like I don't know about you, but like there's always someone, at least I feel like in my life, it's like for instance, there's a coworker right now, where it's like, I could be having a shit day, there could be all
Hmm.
this work stuff that's stressing me out, but it's like, and I'm like, I'm just thinking to myself like, fuck this, fuck that, it's my internal dialogue's just like super like negative. I'm just like, you know, feeling like not good any good emotions.
Hmm.
And then I'll just like have a brief interaction with this dude, and he'll crack a super funny joke, and then I'll crack one. And it's like, man, like like having those people to like bring you out of that, like that's super awesome. When you
Yeah, yeah.
right, there's like people, they say always like there's some people like right who like they always just kind of bring a smile into the room or whatever.
Yeah.
They're kind of always like kind of that positive energy. And
Can't fool the people, man. Energy, bro.
that's the other thing about I think like social anxiety and just interacting with people. It's like it's stupid to like be nervous in a situation and try to hide it. Like try to like pretend that you're not nervous because it's
You
like
think? Like, what would you say
yeah,
though? Like,
well,
yeah, I'm kind of nervous right now. You know what I mean? Or
like bring up a good idea or whatever, but then there may be people in there who are just like talking for the sake of talking. They're nervous, and their coping mechanism is just excessively talking about whatever, you know. I don't know if that makes sense or not.
I don't know. Like, I can go off of like my own personal like recent experience. I was in work and um, we were in a meeting with one of the owners of like the property management company that I work for,
Hmm.
and he brought me into the meeting because he's trying to come up with new ways to like market the company,
Hmm.
and we were talking about like social media and stuff like that, and he just wanted like a young person's opinion, like in terms of ads, like where do I go like on the internet and stuff, like am I on like Google, am I on Safari, like, or am I mainly just like on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook and stuff, and I gave him the gist. And this guy's like very real too. He's like a 60-year-old guy,
Hmm.
and I was like, I feel like especially like the young generation, he was like giving out stats for like who goes on what, and like more so older people are on Facebook, more so younger people in like early 30s at the oldest is in Instagram for a majority. And he was talking about like um I was letting him know that like sometimes you'll scroll down in your feed and now you'll see sponsored ads, and like normally they're tailored to things that you like. Like I get a lot of producer stuff, like rapper stuff,
Hmm.
because on the internet I'm searching rapper producer stuff, so it takes those cookies, and now the ads know how to target me. And he was trying to figure out what to do in terms of like when you scroll through an ad, see their companies like rentals and stuff like that. And he was like, but who gives a damn about that? Like if you're a 22-year-old, or like you're about to graduate high school and going to college, like who gives a damn about scrolling through? You know what I mean? And he was just being real, and we were laughing and stuff like that. And my boss that hired me, she's like a couple years older than me. Seems like a super sociable. Can you hear me still?
Yeah, yeah.
I think my headphones are about to die. But she seems like a really cool, sociable person and stuff like that. But as soon as we were like done laughing and it got quiet, like I was just looking at her mannerisms, like they just like it's like she doesn't know how to react when it's just dead silent. Like she just looks in like a random place, and like her face, like she just makes like weird like movements with her face and stuff like that. So I guess it's like the closest thing that I can think of.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I don't think I gave a great example, but yeah, like some people who like you know the people like who like talk really fast. It's because like and they're just like talking, 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 but it's like because they're nervous.
mm, I don't know. And I talk to so many people, but I'm sure I've met a couple. I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, it's interesting. Just I mean, as far as work goes, it's I mean, you either do have to adapt to the times, or you're done. I mean, it's
Yeah.
that they're looking to you as being able to provide some insight, into what the younger generation is, caring
Yeah.
about. Yeah, yeah. I mean, if that's not happening, you're just becoming outdated. I mean,
Yeah. No, that's true. Um,
good.
I forgot what I was gonna say. It was about like um, it was about adapting to the time. Oh, um, just like the topic of like being awkward in like human conversation and stuff like that. Um, I don't know if you were touching on it or not, but like I feel like there is kind of a way to solve that,
Mm.
and this goes back to like high school. You know what's so weird about high school, bro? And I don't know if it's just because I didn't go to my neighborhood school, so I didn't know anyone.
Hmm.
But like the friends that I thought I made and stuff, like the acquaintances, like the basketball team and stuff like that. I don't know if it was the people that is just like in that area or what. It's just so weird. But we'd crack jokes in class, we'd laugh, we'd sometimes go to lunch together. And but when we saw each other in the halls, like I'd look at them like to like normal human interaction, and this fucked me up out after high school, and I'll explain. And it all ties in.
I'd look at them in the hall and I'd like try to see if they're gonna look at me and like smile or anything. And like they'd forcibly not look at me just like out of awkwardness and like just try to act like they didn't see me, so they didn't have to do that interaction. And that happened all the time at South. Saying that because when I graduated, I that kind of took a toll on my social skills because in middle school you can ask Jesse, like I was loud, I was super social and stuff like that. When high school hit and like normal human interaction that like I was used to didn't really exist anymore, like stuff like that, like weird little things like how people acted like they didn't see you in the halls, or there was tons of other things. It all built up to where when I graduated high school, my social skills were completely shot. Like interviews, I didn't know how to talk to anyone. I was the worst, bro. Like I was talking fast. I mumbled a lot. I stuttered. My mannerisms, like in my face, like during job interviews or like just meeting someone at a store, talking to someone, like I would like smile I didn't know how to just have like a regular still face. Like I didn't know what to do. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. Like I'd smile randomly and like it'd look weird and like awkward, I'm sure. Like if I saw myself in the mirror, it just felt weird. You know what I mean? And like now I'm a little bit I'd say way more sociable, but I literally had to go through so many just like job interviews, life experiences on the job and stuff because it took a while for me to get a job because my social skills were trash. I didn't know how to talk to people. No one could really see me as like a likable guy because I didn't give them anything. But and now like my job, I'm like it requires me to be social 24/7. And I don't think I would have been in this position had I not built all that up. But it was just countless putting myself into situations like interviews, or like I worked at a call center, so I had to like talk to people all the time and stuff. Like that's kind of the only way to get out of that, is to just throw yourself in at the end of the day.
You think that it rubbed off like on you, like that other people's kind of those mannerisms and like being like that you sort of turned into, like you sort of adopted those same things.
Hell yes. Hell yes. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it is. Well, I mean, it's like, I always think of that there's some quote about like, you're the average of like the 5 people, you interact with the most, or your 5 like closest people in your life.
Very true.
And it's very, it really is like, even with, it's crazy. Like there was, further studies on that. And it was like something like, if you have a friend, like if your friend's obese or whatever, like you're more likely to end, like you're more likely to get fat as well. Like, and it makes sense when you think like, like other people, like if you surround yourself with people, maybe that's not the best example, but if you like surround yourself with people who are unmotivated, who aren't doing anything, who are like just like with your music or whatever, like I am not I used to be this type of person where I would just bullshit people because I was trying to gain their approval. But it's like now you send me a song off, I'm going to give you honest feedback.
Yeah, I need honest feedback. I need to know if you like it or not.
And it's like, that is so much more I mean, if you just hang around a bunch of yes men, who are going to just kind of feed your, you're not going to grow, you're not going to improve anywhere.
True.
But say, I try to, and it's not even like, because nowadays, like in the past, I feel like you would actually like have to physically surround yourself with people, but now, like say we're watching podcasts, we're listening to interviews, we're watching movies, like we can surround ourselves digitally.
Everything changed.
Great example of someone I think just following him on Instagram, just reading the stuff he puts out, listening to his content makes, influences people to become more motivated to, work harder for their goals. It's, nowadays it's like you can just choose, whoever to pay attention to. You can choose to care, what the Kardashians are doing, and, you can go that route, or you can,
Seriously.
and it's completely up to people at this point. But yeah, I mean, it's what were you saying earlier about what were you saying, yeah, about about high school, about like those kind of those things. So like, oh yeah, that's what I wanted to say was, I feel like it's something like we almost have to like unlearn a lot of stuff. Like we have to unprogram a lot of those like awkward responses and mannerisms and stuff you're talking about. It's like, I think about it like, think about you're a kid, with none of this social programming. Say maybe for you it was middle school, where you're talking about you were just kind of loud, right? Like just having for I think for me maybe like, I don't know, I feel like for all kids, at least most kids, say like elementary school or whatever, you're just having fun, you're just playing on the playground, doing there's none of the social, like fitting into groups and bullying and just like all of the things.
Your purest form.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting? Where it's like
any outside things start coming and like start molding you. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Yeah, and the way I see it, it's like it's almost like that's like pure. That's like who we really are. Yeah. And it's like all of this stuff gets like layered on, and we have to try to like throw it off of us because it's like it's sort of like it affects us, like it really does, people's comments and just the need to fit in and all this stuff, it molds us, and sometimes in ways that aren't necessarily beneficial. I think about like, man, I would give presentations in elementary, or I think middle school, and like
be fine.
Right?
Yeah.
But then you get into high school and suddenly, I'm stuttering and like having to like read something
shaking, like bro. Like I used to shake like hella. Oh my God.
I feel like when you look into that, there's like a few reasons. It's like the first thing that comes to mind, it's like, all right, like the hot girls in that class. Like you're wanting to look, you're not wanting to make a fool out of yourself. Yeah. But because you're trying to like not screw up, you end up screwing up.
Exactly. And then if you screw up, then like it's like, oh shit, because that's what you're afraid of doing the whole time. So now your confidence is completely shot, and then you bomb the whole damn thing.
Right. And it's like it's a cycle where it's like, you realize.
I don't know how I survived high school, honestly, with those presentations.
Yeah.
Don't know how I survived.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like it's not about the presentation at all. It's like it's about your ability to like remain composed, keep your composure through all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But it's like, in a more natural state before all that stuff, we could be completely fine before there were all those pressures.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, you do have to, did you feel like you were kind of like unlearning stuff? Like when you were doing all of the stuff and talking to people, you were kind of like unlearning,
like still currently?
Well, or just like once you got out of school, like when you were
still to this day, bro.
Yeah.
Like, for people that don't know, my current job, it's like 10% emails, 90% going out and going to rental properties and showing people that are interested in renting it, because they obviously got to see it before they rent. And it's like there's times when like everything flows like perfectly. Like my last one of the day, it flowed perfectly. But like the one before that, it'll be like it just all goes off of vibes. Like sometimes I'll just be fucking up and like I'll just be stuttering, and it's like what the heck? Like this viewing just needs to be over. You know what I mean? It's because like I'm just not comfortable. Like you just kind of go off of vibes. Like sometimes like I'll see them like pull up to the place, and I'll get out my car, they'll get out of theirs, and right then and there you can tell if it's going to be a good interaction, like a whole good experience or not. Like some people are so awkward they don't even want to shake your hand. Some people are just so awkward that like they don't want to look you in your eye. Like it's crazy, dude, like how different especially like they're all mainly our age, like just graduating or like they're 30-year olds. Like there's just some people that like are 30 that just have not grown in that area yet. Like it's just crazy. So like yeah, I still have times where like I'm awkward and I'm just like, dude, like I'm just, or like the person's fine and it's just a me thing. Like I'm still growing, I'm still unlearning all these things. Like I cringe like after the viewing's over. I'm just like, oh my god, like I'm just ready to go to the next one. So yeah, absolutely. Definitely like light years ahead of like where I used to be. I was terrible, dude. Like embarrassing. Like if you would have seen me like try to have a conversation with a random person on the street, embarrassing. Couldn't
Oh,
even have a regular conversation with someone. That's how bad it was.
yeah, yeah.
Like,
And I feel like I gained that. We've talked about this before. I won't go too in depth in it, but just canvassing. I canvassed. Just going door to door. Having my job was to have conversations with strangers, make them feel comfortable. And explain to them the issue and try to get them to sign. To get signatures. And obviously, like at first, it was very much like I was just reading off of the script I was given, like very awkwardly and stuttering, and it was like very impersonal.
yeah.
But by the time I got good at that job, it was like I was just purely focused on the other person. I was just like, I knew the material by heart, so I wasn't regurgitating anything.
Not being a robot.
Yeah, I was just like, here's what's going on. Like what do you think about this issue? Like, just relating to them. And I think the same. Like, I think that's such an important skill because it's like it carries over into what I mean. Because I feel like more and more out of school, like you meet more and more new people. Because it's like especially being in kind of a I don't know. I went to elementary school. Like my elementary school fed into my middle school, which fed into my high school. So it was like a lot of
all around the same people.
a lot of the same people. And then now it's like I live in Florida. Like I literally know there's no one I'm gonna run into at the store, from high school, which is kind of awesome. But
yeah.
But at the same time, my point being is that it's like having that skill to like if you're in this new area, like sometimes what I'll do, man, it's like just to meet people, or I'll be walking around the college, and just be like, ask some stupid question, where's Starbucks, this that, but and it's like people are taken aback at first. They're like, because it's like it's still not what like a lot of people are uncomfortable with, like what we're talking about having gotten comfortable with, and I feel like then it's like I can sort of read that where it's like, oh, this person's like wondering like why the fuck am I talking to them, like
yeah, isn't that crazy?
out. But then what I've like what I've learned is that if I just remain comfortable, other people, going back to like about just how other, you mirror other people and other people mirror you. I feel like, they just reflect that, if you show that this is normal for you to just be able to comfortably have conversations with strangers, at first they're going to be like, all right, what the hell is going on? But then they're going to just be like, all right, like this person's cool with it, I guess, they might have like, a lot of confidence to be able to just strike up a conversation like nothing. Like it's not, people don't get weirded out by that. People get weirded out when you're like awkward and you don't acknowledge that it's awkward.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. No, that's 100%. Like I've had enough experiences now with like dealing and meeting so many new people that I 100% agree.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what else I have to say about that subject, but got like an hour and 46. This has been good, man. What?
Yeah, dude, it's 10 o'clock.
Dude, it's where I am.
That's crazy.
I'm a night owl, so this is perfect.
Oh yeah, dude, I'll be up.
Yeah.
So.
You think anything else on burning on your mind that you're just that you've been thinking about lately?
Like life.
Yeah.
No, not really. Like
If anything, I'm just thinking about like my success a lot and like what I need to do, and like the sacrifices I'm gonna have to make. Dude, we could literally talk for like hours on like
I know.
just like philosophies and stuff, or like
podcasts. Of course.
Dude, I know this might have to be like 10 episodes.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
As we got to talk about, but I don't know. I've been thinking about a lot, like about sacrificing. This is actually a good topic. You're gonna see why. There's sometimes like for those who don't know, again, I'm about to like finish the best album of the past 4 years, in my opinion. Like, it's about to be crazy, but it's hard. Like, there's always like life throws things at me, but like I've been learning to accept them. Like, you know, instead of like realizing like, man, like, well, all these greats go through, or like they get dealt like bad cards and stuff, and like instead of just complaining or like just staying to put, they're problem solvers. All the successful people, they're problem solvers. But there's times when it's harder to record just because like situations come up with like relationships or like friends, or like I'm just in a bad mood from work, and I literally have to dodge all that and put it to the side just to get this stuff done. And what I'm learning is you kind of have to sacrifice certain things to certain things and certain people to get to where you want to go, and it kind of sucks. And it's like I feel like the first I guess reaction is it feels so good, it feels so comfortable that you're just like, no, that can't be right. You know, like people tell you all the time, like, dude, like if this person's making you miserable all the time, or this person you're always in an argument with, you should probably separate yourself from that person, whether it be friends, relationship, whatever. But like when it's your own self, and like you're actually going through it, and like you're trying to figure out, man, what is the common denominator? And like it's all those things that people were telling you, you just don't want to believe it, or you're just like, no, you conflict with yourself, you self-conflict. That's what I've been dealing with a lot, trying to just wrap everything up. A lot of things just coming at me that I kind of got to make sacrifices in. Not just that, like time too. Like my brother always wants to hang out. I just moved across the street from him. I'm living in a basement, by the way. It's pretty nice for a basement, but I got to sacrifice time with that, and it's kind of like it's a lonely path trying to be successful. Now, what that translates into, what I was like, the main thing that I was gonna say is the fear of offending. It's literally one of the biggest things in, and I talk to it with my viewers. I talk to it with my boy that's a producer. Just anyone that honestly wants to hear if the topic comes up. But sacrificing it's like the same principles of the fear of offending. Like a lot of people are willing to they're willing to hate their life, they're willing to risk their life in hopes that they don't offend someone else. A great example is like, let's say that you're walking down the street at 9 p.m. by a liquor store, and you're just walking by yourself, and you're just walking to your car. It's like a block away for whatever reason, and someone's walking behind you, and like they're stomping, they're walking kind of fast, and they're at a good distance right now, just from what you hear, and they got like a hood on. You've seen them like in the convenience store, and like you just got a vibe that's not right. I feel like 99% of people won't look back. Like if like you're walking to your car and someone's like walking behind you, and like you saw the person like in the convenience store that you came out of, and like you just got like a very like worried vibe. A lot of people are so afraid of offending that like they just will risk their own life to not look. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But, I feel like that's not like a good relatable example. But like let's say with like jobs or something, doing something that you really don't want to do. Like today they had my last viewing. I get off at 5. My last viewing of the day is 4:15,
because you don't know how long that person wants to look at the house or the apartment or whatever and like do what they got to do. Sometimes take measurements or whatever. So it gives me enough time to get off right at 5. I don't want to leave, and I'm trying to do this music on the side, so because that's what I really want to do. That's my passion. As soon as I went into the office today, thank God it wasn't Friday, because I had the fear of offending. If this would have been Friday, I would have been starting my weekend late, like at 6 or something. But I go in the office and talk to my boss, and she's like, "Hey, we added a 5 o'clock to your schedule," and I was like, "Oh, okay, that's fine." Fearing offending, it's too scared to say I can't do it. You know what I mean? And then to make it worse, she was like, "Yeah, it's all the way out in Harrisburg, like a 20-minute drive, dude, at 5. So it's like I'm not getting home until like 6 o'clock, 6:30, depending on how long the people look in the house. You know what I mean?"
Right.
And I just bit the bullet, and I just yes manned it because I'm too afraid to stand up for myself. You know what I mean? So
I do. No, that makes a lot of sense.
That makes a little bit more sense, I'm sure. But
yeah, I mean, it definitely complicates things when it's like someone you're talking to who has the power of paying your rent, basically, right? You know, like
someone that you love too. We do it with our family all the time.
Yeah.
Afraid to disappoint someone. It's the fear of offending. It's huge.
Yeah. That's been a big thing I've personally just worked on, is just being more and more just honest with people.
Standing your ground.
Well, yeah, because it's like
what you want to do.
And a big thing like I've thought about is like people who are very likable, like people don't necessarily like them because they're doing all these things to try to get other people to like them. Like those people, I feel like are just kind of like, everyone can tell they're just kind of like insecure and needy. But it's like people who aren't trying, like I don't know, man. Like I feel like it was interesting, like in high school, like when you were just like, you know, you just didn't give a fuck about, I felt like certain things, you know, or whatever, and it was like
all the time, bro.
Because it's like people are so used to giving a fuck about stuff that's like, you know, not really worthy of that. But yeah, it's something I feel like people value. Like it might feel nice to have someone tell you, like, to reaffirm you or whatever, to be like say you got back, or like say I'm having a conversation with, I don't know, my mom, or I don't know if that's a good example. Some conversation, and you're like, you just got back from, say, like a job interview, and you like completely blew it, right? It's like there could be the person you talk to who's just going to be like, oh, like it'll, you know, I'm sure it was fine. Like I'm sure you didn't do too badly. Like, you know, and like trying to just kind of brush it off, right? Like, but then it's like you could have another person who's like kind of more real with you and be like what, you know, what happened, like why, you like exploring actually like the situation, because I feel like it's all learning experiences. It's like if you fucked up in a, you know, at work or what, you know, whatever kind of situation, like you could just try to brush it off and like, you know, make it seem as if like you just had a bad day, but it's like you're going to continue repeating that same mistake unless you figure out what's at the root of that, like what's causing you to do that.
Yeah, basically. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I'm getting like really tired. I'm like I like think about what I'm gonna say, and then I'm like, oh, like
you're getting spaced out. You want to call it good for this episode?
Yeah, dude, this is like, we're right at 2 hours. This is perfect.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm cool.